Okay, so for as many that submitted the assignment, thank you so much. I got the assignment, those that submitted the questions, the difference between Excel and Power BI, and those that also did the assignment related to the Power Query, creating age, date, and all of that. So before I start today's class, I just need to ask if anyone of us has any question or any issue whatsoever. I want to assume that we probably try to put in some work during the week and maybe we encountered one issue or the other. So we're going to start if you have any questions, so we can do that together before we go to what we have today. Any question, any query? Okay, all right. In the absence of none, of course, if you do have anything, please let me know at any point in time. I would always come back to that. So this is where we left off last week. We brought in our customers table and our calendars table, which we actually had to do the assignment. So today we'll be bringing the rest. I think I told us in the second assignment was that we should load all other tables, right? So I'll be doing that now. And I would have done it, but why I left it is I just wanted to show you something. So for instance, I have to bring in my data and I need to go back to Power Query. So how do I go back to Power Query? There are different ways you can go back to Power Query from here. But one of the one of the most efficient or most common ways in any of these views, either the data view, either the model view or the report view, you can hover on the please confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So thank you. So just hover on any of the tables, anyone, just over it and right click. So when you right click, you have so many options, right? So we'll be treating some of the options later on, but in this case, what you need to do is click on edit query. So for any of the tables, right? So once you click on edit query, it's going to open the new window that takes you to your query editor. Okay, so that's how you go back to your query editor if you need to go back there. So what I would just do now is I would just bring in the other data. So starting with we have customers, we have calendars. So let's bring in product categories. Okay, so we have it here. So I can just rename it to just product categories. Oops. So I bring in another one, this time subcategories. So I believe we've all done this, right? So if you have not, you can just follow along as we are doing it or try to do it. Just bring all of them. So we have products as well. Okay. We have returns. So just going to bring in everything. So we have territories. Okay, perfect. And then we have sales. So I will just bring in I'll just bring in two of the sales, that of 2015, because I want to show you something. 2015 and that of 2016. So this is sales 2015 and sales 2016. Okay. All right. So for every other type, there's no big deal. We've all done this before, bringing in our data. So I want to show you another method or one of the ways you can bring in your data. So now looking at these two sales data, if you look at them, they have the same number of columns. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this one also has the same number of columns. They also have the same thing because they are both sales table. Just that this one is for 2015, this one is for 2016. You get it? So when you have this type of data set, of course, you can bring them in. Sorry. Excuse me. Of course, you can bring them in like this one by one, but you would definitely need to bring them together, right? Because you cannot have the sales table in different tables, right? So you need to bring them together, right? So that all of them would be in one place. Okay. So at the end of the day, when you bring them together, you have other dates here would be 2015. You also have more information about 2016. You also have more information about 2017, right? Do you get it? Same thing as here, you find the stock date and all of that. So now, how to do that? You can of course do this from your Excel. You can try to bring all of those data together, copy and pasting them together. That is not really efficient. You can do what we know as append. So we have two types of ways you can bring in your data together. I don't want to use join because join means something else entirely. So let me say bring together, right? So there are two ways you can bring in your data together. The first one is append. So what does append means? From my explanation, append is literally joining two tables together, right? You are joining two tables together based on the columns. So they must have the same number of columns. So let me try to demonstrate it. Let me open my Excel here so that you can understand what I'm saying better. So I will just quickly create a dummy table as soon as possible in Excel. So let me call this one. Let me just say name, or let me just call it ID. Sorry, I should have created this thing. I had some difficulties arriving late for the meeting and all of that. So let's assume we have this and we have something like name. Okay, so let me just say someone's name is Tim. Just for instance, John, Rachel, Sam. Just creating something. Okay. So let's stop here. Okay. So now let's say this is my first table, right? So and I have this table again. I have a different table now. Okay. So let me make this one 16. And this one 17. So I'm just going to bring in both of them like this. So we have 30, right? So I have these two tables now, and they both contain maybe the number of students that we have each year, right? So we understand that we need to have these tables together. So how do we join them? So the best way, what I will just copy all of these tables here, right? Copy it here and what? Paste it here. So you have one full complete table, right? So what you've done basically is known as appending. So appending is when you add rows to your table. You join two tables together by adding to the rows. Do you get it now? So by adding to the rows, that's when you append. Okay. Then you also have what we call merge. Okay. So merging is when you join. Yeah, we can use join now. When you join two tables together by columns. So it's going to be like side by side combination. So let's assume I want to join these two tables. This one I want to 15 now, and this table together. So this will have a result like this. Control C, just going to copy this and I paste it here. So you can see it now. So it is more of a what? Side by side joining. Do you get it now? So this is what? Append. When you add more rows. So in this condition now, they must have the same number of rows. Because let's say, for instance, now, this table now, let's say this table that I created now has another column. Let's call it age, for instance, right? And you have 30, 45. Let me just use that randomly. So you have this age now. You cannot append this table with this table because they don't have the same number of columns. Because by the time you do it, you have something like this. This will be your result. Let me take this away. If you join them together, this is what you have as your result, which doesn't make sense, as you can see. Do you get it? So one of the conditions, because you can see this place is empty. So one of the conditions for appending now is that what they must have the same number of columns. Another condition, I don't want to be giving you a lot of information, but on the basic level is that they must have the same number of columns. Do you get it now? So that's how you can append. Why merging is what? Joining two tables together. So they don't need to have the same number of columns. This one can be 2 columns as you have here, and this one is 3. You can still join it together. Do you get it now? So that's the difference between merge and append. In SQL, they call merge is known as join, while append is known as union. But it's not a problem. But that is exactly what it's all about. So just to demonstrate it, please, do you have any question? Do you have any question? Is it confusing? Okay, let's just shoot. So now let's look at them here. How do we access them? So if you check your home tab, you can find merge queries, you can find append queries. Then you also find an arrow there. So this arrow gives you options. So let me start with append, for instance. So if you check your append, if I click on it, it gives me another option, append as new. So what this does is what, when it joins them together, it creates another table. But when you just append, it automatically overrides. It's just like the difference between transform and add colon, you understand? So it overrides the 2 columns that you have before and gives you and return just the 2 tables that you have before and gives you just 1 table. That's when you just use append query or maybe merge query. But when you do append as new, it appends them, then it creates additional table for you. So now you have 3 tables, right? So now, if you look at this data, this sales data, you agree with me that they have the same number of columns and they contain similar type of information, because in your sales data, all your sales data, you always have your order date, you always have your stock date, you always have your order number in that order. You can see in that order. So now, instead of doing that copy and pasting from the source, like doing it in Excel, imagine you have millions of data. You're going to start copying millions of rows and starting. So then you can use your append. Okay, so let's see how it works. So now if you check this your 2015 data, for instance, if I click on this order date, if I click on this filter here, you see that all the data that I have inside of this place is what? They are all what? 2015. Can you see it? 2015, 2015, 2015. And for this one, all the data I have inside of there is what? 2016, 2016. So now let's see the result when we match, when we append them together now. So we are appending because we want the 2016 to be under that of the 2015. We don't want them to be side by side, right? We just want it to be like a continuation, right? So we know that, okay, these are all the dates that we have the sales, right? Do you get it? Is it clear? Please let me know. Do you understand it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. So now I would append them together, right? So now what do? I go to my home. Don't choose append query, just choose append as new. So we want to have separate ones. So when I choose append as new, it's asking me what is the first table. It's asking me how many tables do I want to join together. Is it 2 or 3? In this case, we want to join just 2, right? So I can choose which of the table, sales 2015. I want 2015 should be up, right? So 2015, and the second table will be sales 2016. Then I click on OK. So by the time you click on OK, it has created a new table known as append 1. So if you check this table now, you cannot scroll down to everything. So if you just click on this here, you see that it no longer contains just 2015, it also now contains 2016. So it has brought them together. It still with the same number of what? With the same number of columns. If you check any of the 2015 or 2016 data now, and you try to go to your view and you go to your column profile, you see that the count, let me change this one, entire data. You see that the total count is 2,630, right? If you check your 2016 data and you do the same thing, your column profile, you see that the total count is okay, I'm coming. You see that the total count is 23,935. That's in 2016 now. So by the time we append them together, if you check that of the append that we did together now, you realize that we have a sum of both of them, which tells you that the total row now has increased. So in append, the row increase. Do you get it now? In append, the row will definitely increase. They put it as the table becomes taller. You understand? Because you are adding more rows, right? So now, if we have that of 2017, we are supposed to add it. So let me bring in 2017 now. I will answer your question, the one on the chat now. Let me just finish this. So let me add 2017. I will delete this append that we created. So I want to have everything in one place. So let me delete this. How do you delete? Just go to it, over it, and you see delete here. So you can delete your table if you want. So I'll click on this 2017 and I'll rename it to sales 2017, right? So now I will perform that append again, but this time for the 3 of them so we can see. So again, I'll go to append queries as new. Now we are not appending 2 tables, we're appending 3 or more tables, right? So we're going to be asking you should select all the tables. So you can see that the way 2 tables view is different from 3 tables. So 2 tables, you just select the first one, select the second one. But this time, it's asking me to be adding them manually by myself. So I will have to scroll down, pick 2015, add it, pick 2016, add it. Now I want 2017 to be down. So I click on this like this, and I try to bring it down, move it down, just something like that. So we have 2015, 2016, 2017 in that order, and I click on my OK. So if you check my append now, if I go to, you see that you have 2015, you have 2016, and you have 2017. Everything still the same number of columns, just that the row now is what is bigger. So when I check the column profile, just like I checked earlier, you see now we have 56,000. No, earlier it was 26,000. So it has become taller. We have more rows added to it. So that is append. Let me check your question now. It says, Liz is asking, for large data sets, how can we determine if tables have the same number of columns so as to append versus merge? Well, of course, you can always know the number of columns that you have. Merely looking at this here, you can easily count the number of columns that you have. But it's not like you just start merging, you just start appending. There must be a need for it. You understand? So, and it depends on what the table is all about. For here now, for instance, this place now, we know that this is sales. So it might be that it might not even be here now. It might be like, okay, in a company now, we are selling in China, we are selling in India, we are selling in Nigeria, we are selling in the US. And all of these different locations, we send data for the sales they are making, right? So if we want to analyze those sales, of course, we cannot analyze them in separate tables. We need to bring them together. You understand? So this is a use case for append, because they are going to definitely be the same number of columns for sure. Then you know that you just need everything in one place, right? So you just append them together. That's like the use. So you just need to know the use case, then you know whether you need to append or merge, right? So that's that. Then for merging, like I said, it just had more by side by side. So let me show you again. Let me take you to Excel again before I demonstrate why we merge, because I don't think we have any data that really, okay, yeah, I think we do, but it's big, so you might not totally understand it. So let me come over here to demonstrate how merge will work. Okay, let me still use this one. Let me still use this one that we have here, because that I will modify something here. So let's have something like this. Let me delete this away. So now let's say we have, let me take this away. Let me take this away. Let me just delete this entire table. Delete. So this is very simple for you to understand. So that's how we're using it. So now let's assume we have 2 tables, right? 2 different tables. The first one is name table. The second one is age table, or whatever, just to make you understand easily, age table. So now you can see that this ID, no, I need to change this ID now to what we have here. So now you can see that now this ID is the same thing. So these 2 tables are basically giving us more information about this ID. So this ID, the name of the person, let's use a scenario of a student in a class. So the name of the student with ID 1 is Tim, right? The name of the student with ID 2, don't let all of these things confuse you. So let me just stop here. Let me stop at 5. So you don't see Tim 2 times. So let me change this to James. Perfect. So the name of ID 1 is Tim. The name of ID 2 is John. The name of ID 3 is Rachel, and so on and so forth. So now, what is Tim's age? Okay, what is Tim's age? Now, there's what we call data normalization. I don't want to go too deep into it, but probably when we get to modeling, you understand this again. We would have to come back to something like this. So what normalization does is it looks for a way of breaking down when you are supposed to have a big table, it breaks it down into smaller tables for optimization sake, which we will explain later. Okay, so but now what this table gives information of the name. But this table gives me the information of the age. So in this table, if I'm seeing ID 1, I literally know that we are talking about who? Tim. Even though the name is not here, but the ID is like the identity, of course. So when I see ID 1, I know that we are talking about what? Tim. When I see ID 2 here, who is 45 years, you literally know that that's person with ID 2, and that's what? John. So you can see how we are like linking up these two tables together. So if you want to now join these two tables together, that's when you use merge in this case, because it would not make sense to have something like this. Looking at it, do you think it makes sense? No. So the best way to have this is to have them side by side, right? So you're going to have something like this. So you can easily, let me add it with this age. Sorry, let me just copy this too. So you have them side by side. So you know that this name also belongs to, you can easily link them up together. Of course, when you are, okay, do you get this merge now? Why it is side by side in this case, not in the row? Do you get it now? Do you understand it? Is it clear? Hello? Anybody there? Okay, yes. Okay, so we have them side by side now in this case. So this tells you this ID 1 is Tim and the age is also 30. Of course, looking at this ID coming again, it looks confusing even to the normal eye. So in the data sense, this ID is not supposed to be there anymore. So because you have already joined them together, so you can just delete this, and now you have something that makes sense. So instead of having the two tables separated, now you have it as what? One. So what do we do? We merge together, meaning you join them side by side, not under and above. Do you get it? So under and above is what? Appending, but side by side is what? Merging. Now, of course, let's assume we have another information here. Let's say state. So like this, or let me use country. That's more. So let's assume we have country here, and we have something like Nigeria, Egypt, India, USA, whatever, and maybe why are countries leaving my head right now? Okay, let me just say Germany. So now this is 3 colons. This, let's go back to what we had before. This is 3 colons. This is 2 colons. But then we can still do the same thing by merging them together. If I bring this over here now, I can still delete this one now, just the way we did earlier, and we still have something that makes sense, which is the name, the age, the country. So what does this tell you? For merge, they don't need to be the same number of columns. Do you get it now? So you can be joining a table with 2 columns with another table with 3 columns. You just need to join them together. Now, what do you now notice in this merge? See, what we are talking about now, to be very honest, is going to go a long way. Because when we go to model, in fact, it's more like I'm already talking about modeling. But I'm just saying this. I just don't want to explain that merge and append just like that. I want you to like have a deep understanding, because I'm very sure by the time we get to modeling itself, it will become easier for you. Okay, so just we are still going to go over it again in modeling in case you don't understand. So, but just try your best to understand it. So now, I wanted to say something. Oh my God, I forgot. Okay, I was saying you don't necessarily need the same number of columns. Just as you can see that for the first table we had 2 columns, the second table we had was 3 columns, right? So now what do you notice? What do you notice? When we were joining these 2 tables together, you realize that we did a kind of mapping. Do you get it? Meaning we look for ID 1 here, and we look for ID 1 here, and we join them together. It will not be logical for me to merge my table and have this kind of result. Can you see it now? This is not correct. You have not merged correctly. Because you can see here that the ID here is 1, and the person's name is what? Tim. And here you are now merging it with ID 2. That means you have mixed something up together. So that tells you that when you are merging, you need to merge on a particular colon between the two. So that means there must be a colon between in the two tables that must align. This is how it works in SQL for joins too. So this is like extra knowledge you are getting here, trust me. This is exactly how it works. So it's like you are mapping. If you remember when we were in the primary school or there, but you have maybe they write something like elephant, they write cat, and they put like a drawing, a symbol that shows that elephant, and they tell you to like map it together. That's exactly what's going on here. So you can see now that we have ID table on one ID colon on one table, we have ID colon on the other, then we're able to what? Match them together. If there was no ID on the other table, then this margin will not give us this result. It will give us a totally different thing, which will not be correct, except you just want to forcefully use it like that. Do you get it now? So these are the conditions now. For appending, there must be the same number of colons. I'm taking you back now to append. For appending, there must be the same number of colons, then you can append. For margin, they don't need to be the same number of colons, but they must have this a colon that is what? Present in both. Do you get it now? You must have a colon that is present. If that is not done, then you have something we call outer join, full outer join in SQL, like just join anyhow, which is not what we want in this case. So we want them to join to match up. So ID1 match up with ID1, ID2 match up with ID2. Okay, do you get it, guys? Any question, guys? Okay, I will continue. So that is margin. Now you can get the difference.
Question.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I'm trying to check out the column profile on. I'm not referring to the one you just explained. I understand this perfectly.
Okay.
So mine is not allowing me view this column profile. It's telling me it's just blank. I have done the append and I really cannot tell the count of colon and all of those things.
Okay. Can you share your screen so that we can see what you have? Let me stop sharing so we can see what you have and we'll be able to. How do I stop share? Okay, so please share your screen if you can. Oh, so I think I need to enable us sharing. Okay, yeah, you should be able to share now.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yes, perfect. So, the distribution cannot be computed for currently selected colon. Can you click on territories? Then click on append again. Then click on column profile. Okay, click on order number. Just click on maybe order number. Order number, yeah. So then come. Okay, now, guys, let me just mention this. By default, Power BI shows you the top 10, the top 1,000 rows in your Power Query by default, right? So if you need, so when you do your column profiling and all of this, it will only give you the distribution based on that, based on those 1,000, right? So if you need for the whole data set now, the reason they do this is, of course, because of your space. So imagine you are doing like 1 million rows. Imagine having to load all of those 1 million at times. It might affect your speed and all of that. So except you need to, then you just go downward by your bottom left, you will see 8 colons. That's what tells you the number of colons that you have, and 999 plus rows. That tells you that you have more than 1,000 rows for sure. Then if you check beside it, you see column profiling based on top 1,000. So all the profiling you have here is based on the top 1,000, and that's why the count here is 1,000. So you need to click on that column Now, the second option now appears, which is what? Column profiling based on entire data set. So if you click that, you will see that it recalculates everything based on the entire data set now, which has 56,046. Do we get it now? That's that. So that's just add on. Now, back to your question. The reason why this is not working is because it is a date column. Do you understand? And for dates, these statistics are not available. You can see you have only just count, and it tells you where you have errors, but they are not. They are not. There are no dates. I can see a mistake that you did. I can see a mistake you did. Now stop share. I think we resolved that, but just stop share. Let me share again. Now, if you check Mr. Timothy's screen, can you see my screen? My Power BI. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
If you see your work, if you see your colon, you can see that your colon here says ABC. Did you see it? That means it's not seeing this as a date. It's not seeing it as a date. And I think the reason is probably because when you wanted to start, you did not make that settings that I told you about in the first class. Well, that's not an issue. You can just change the settings yourself here by clicking on this and changing it to date. Okay, Mr. Timothy. True. Okay, good. So try to change it to date, and then you should be able to. It was not seeing it as a date. I'm sure some things will also come with error. If it's not working, better still go back to your 2015 now. If you can go back to your 2015, start from there, change this to a date, go to your 2016 again, change it to date, year, change it to date. And don't forget, that's not the only date we have. We have several dates here. We have dates in stock date. And that's why that settings that I told you is really important to do it before you start a new work and all of that. Okay, so once you make that change, I believe this should work, and you should have that profiling correct. Okay, now guys, so we've done appending. Now let's see merge. So this demonstration might not be totally clear. It might not be as clear as that one we did in Excel. So because this is a whole lot of data, but I just have to demonstrate. I believe you would get it. So now let's look at this. What can we look at? Okay, let's look at this sales table, for instance. Let's look at this sales now, for instance. So if we check this sales table, you realize that we have order date, we have stock date, we have order number, we have product key, we have customer key, we have all these are keys. Don't worry, when we get to modeling, we'll explain what all of these things mean. Or should I get there before I explain it? No, let me explain it. Okay, now, so this customer key is just similar to customer ID. Let me switch off this. This customer key is just similar to customer ID. Do you understand? So this key means 14657. There's a customer that has that key 14657, like an ID. So if you check your customers table now, you see that every customer has a key. You get it now. So if you check this sales again, and I go to what this is telling me is that the customer that owns this key is the one that made this purchase, literally. So instead of having all of the customer information here, imagine you should have all of this: first name, last name, birth status, marital status, gender, email address, everything. Imagine you have it here. You can imagine how voluminous this data will be. And that's why normalization is important. That's breaking down, why we have to break down your tables. You understand? Because, of course, instead of having customer key here, you can have something like customer name, customer first name, customer last name, customer marital status, still on this place. Do you know? Yes. So, but instead of having it large like that, that's why we usually break down. That's what we call data normalization. So when you just see this key, you can easily use this key to fetch, even if you need to know the customer details that is making this purchase, you can use this key to fetch it from your customer's table, and you get all the information you need. So now let me break this through now. Let's assume I want to now create that voluminous table that I just described. So how do that is when you use merging, of course, because we want to join them side by side, so that in this case, you are going to have order date, stock date, order number, product key. Then you also have the information of all of the customers, like the name, this. So it has to be merging side by side. you cannot bring it under. Okay, so now I'll go to home, I'll go to merge as new, of course. So if I go to merge as new, now it's asking me the first table is 2015, which is this table that we have here. So now what is the second table that you want to join? So the second table is customers, right? Bam. So now if you look at it now, these are the two tables together, right? So the next thing it's going to ask you is, you can see there is nothing here. It's not giving me a chance to say okay. And the reason is because I've not told it how, on what do I want to join it. So now if you look at, let me go back to that Excel quickly. You can see that when we wanted to join these two tables together, I told you that you need to have something that must be in the two. Do you remember? So that information is what we have not supplied Power BI, and that's why it's not giving us option of saying okay. So I need to give it an information like this ID that tells you, okay, look for this colon in this table and look for this information as well in this other table and use that information to match them together. Do you understand? So now, what are those two colons that have those information? So we want to join using customer key. So I select customer key here, and I also select customer key here. Okay. So you can see it's saying that select columns of the same type. Okay. So let me cancel. I think there's a mistake here. Customer key here is 1, 2, 3. Customer key here is ABC. You can see that's why it gave me that error. This is how you debug, of course. So the customer here, this table now, this here is ABC. That's a text format. In the sales here, it is 1, 2, 3, a number format. So I can either change this one to a text format or change this one to a number format, whatever I want to do. So let me just change this one to a number. So let me change it to O number 1, 2, 3. Now I go back to that my home. I go back to my append merge as new. I do the same thing. I select I want it to be sales should come first. Then I want the customer should come next. Then I select my customer key here, and I select my customer key here. And what did it say? It said the selection match. You can see it gave me a plus sign. So you can see the selection matches 2630 of 2630 rows of the first table. So you can see now that you can't find a match between them. Do you get it? So this is known as left join, but I won't be going deep into them. When you get SQL, probably find out all the type of joins and all of it. But literally by default, this is left join. So when I click on OK now, you can see it creates a new this thing for me, which is what? Match. And you can see now that if I scroll to my left now, you can see we have it here. This is the new table that we have. So you need to expand it. So if I click on it, you can see what's going on here. Okay, this is for that first one. I think needs to do something that will cancel this navigation. I think I need to click on this place at the top here. You can see it folded them together, right? So because you are joining, maybe you don't even need all of the information that is in the other table. Maybe you just need some information. So once I click on this, it will give me all the options that I have. So let's assume I don't need all the information. Maybe I just need the name of that customer that made that purchase. That's just the only thing I need. So I can easily select it. That okay, I just want the first name. So because we don't want all this information, it's going to affect our site. So let me just say maybe, okay, I think we did full name. So let me just use full name. Okay. So once I use full name and I click on OK, now you can see. So you can see now that for every order, it's now giving me the information of the customer that made that order. Do you get it now? Of course, if we needed more information, maybe like the marital status, and we could have added it as well. But this is just a demonstration of merge. You understand now, like joining side by side. You can see it added it to the side. And what happens in contrast, the number of columns will what increase. Your table will become wider in merge. But for appending, it will become what? Taller. Do you get it now? So take note of those two things. They are very, very important, not just for this place. For yes, you can see I've been mentioning SQL since, and your general data modeling knowledge in general. So we don't actually need them. So it's just for demonstration. So I will delete them. Any question? Do you understand it? Do you get it? Guys, do you get it? Maybe I was talking too fast. I don't know. Do you get it, guys? Before I delete it.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So those are the two append and Again, in SQL, they call them append is union, bringing them together, while merge is join. I'm sure you've probably heard of join. Those of us that have experience with SQL joins. So we have different type of joins, but literally the default one is the left, which is the one we did. So you can also just look up others. So now that's how you can bring in, you can, append all of this data together. Another option in this case, now this is just like a use case thing for this particular type of data, this sales data. Now you can let me create this. Now let's assume this stops at 2017, right? So now let's assume after let's assume we created our analysis and everything with this table, right? With everything we have here, we created our DAS, did everything, and we created a very nice report. Now in 2018, they now brought 2018 data, right? So you literally now have to come here again, click on new source, right? Bring it in, and you can imagine for as many transformations that you've probably done on this data, you probably have to repeat it again, then you refresh. Well, you can do it if you have the time and resources to do that. But an effective way of handling this type of data is what we know as folder. So when you have different tables that are similar, just that maybe they change as regards to maybe time or season, maybe every month you are updating your sales report every month, those type of data, is best you create a folder for them. So how does a folder work? So instead of now having me to bring 2015, 2017 one by one like this, I can go to my back end, which is my folder here. Let me come over to where did I even save all about it? Okay, now. So this is my back end, right? So I can create a folder, just click on new folder. What is the folder name? I can call it sales. Okay. So I will take these three data now. I will take them inside of my sales. I don't want to cut it. Let me just copy it because I want it, because if I move it now and I refresh, okay, I will still demonstrate that. So let me just still copy it. So just have copied. So now, and I have everything here. So let me delete 2017. Let me just so that you can understand what I'm saying. So now this is 2015 and 2017 we have inside sales. Now if I go to my Power BI and I go to my new source, you can see we have Excel, we don't have it. So I click on more. If I click on more, you have an option folder under all. So if I click on folder and it says connect, so it's going to ask me what is the folder I want to connect, what is the path. If you know the path and you can start typing C, slash all of this, but just click on browse. Then you're going to take it to where that folder is. So I think it's under my download. Just locate that file, that this is the AdventureWorks, and you can see the only folder that we have under AdventureWorks is what? Sales. You can see. So when I click on sales and I click on OK, so this is the folder, and I click on OK here. So you will see that it's going to give me the folder in the navigator. Now it's giving me two options, combine and transform. It's giving me transform. Of course, this is like load directly, but let me just choose transform first so that we can see how it looks like here. So you can see these are the two tables that we have here. Now it has joined them together, similar to what we saw under expand. Do you remember when we saw this, something like this, that it combined them together? So we need to expand it. So once you click on this expand, you can see it's expanding something. Then these are the two data that you have. Then you can just click on OK. So now this is your sales data. So what this folder does is it automatically append. Okay, because it knows that, okay, once you use it, it means you want to append those two data. So it's know that you have 2015, 2016, just append them together. So if this is like the source name, you can delete this, you can delete this column. It's all usually come by, I don't know if there's a settings to take it off, but this is what we need. So if I click on this other date now, you realize that what we have 2015 and we also have 2016 without doing anything like append, so this is what the folder option does. But of course, like I said, it depends on the use case. Some different data that you know that they are the same and they are continuous. Like you keep updating them, adding to them. So instead of, or maybe they're already on your system. So instead of you having to bring them in one by one, you can just put them in a folder and load them, because automatically it's going to combine them, just as you have seen, append them together, right? So now we have just 2015 year and 2016 data here. So now let's assume that when we were doing all of this, it was in 2016, and now we are now in 2017, and our TM has just given us the 2017 data. So what do I need to do? Do I need to come here again and click on new source? This is no. No. What do I need to do? So now let me, okay. Now let me come here. All I need to do is copy this new data that they've given us in your backend, go inside your sales folder and paste it there. That's all. And okay, let me say one more step. And the only thing you need to do is come to your Power Query or Power BI, whatever, and just click on refresh. So once I click on refresh, it's going to go to my backend now and refresh that source. So after clicking on refresh, if I click on this now and I click on load more, you realize that we now have 2017 data. You can see without having to import it, without having to. So that's the advantage of using folder. Do you get it now? So that's so when you have this type of data and you know it's going to keep coming. So if you get for 2018 now, just take it, add it there, come over here, refresh. And even if you have created a lot of dashboard, everything we automatically, that's one sweet thing, everything will automatically update, change itself, because the visualization are very dynamic, as you know. When we start doing visualization, you see, so everything will just update automatically without you even touching it. The only thing you need is what, put the file where you need it to be and refresh. So those are like the things I would like to show you on this. So another thing on importing, because what we are doing is just still connecting and transformation together, the two outlines, the first two we have in our outline. So I'm just mixing them up together. At this point, let me ask, do you have any question? Is that folder clear? Do you understand that folder?
Yeah, for me, I think it's clear.
Oh, okay. What about others? Okay, I'm seeing a comment. Clear. Okay. Someone is saying, if a new column was added in 20, would it also be added? I doubt. If you add a new column, because like I said, this is going by the append rule, right? So it's more like saying, if I have two columns, if I have two tables with different number of columns, will it append? That's just the question. You understand? So because like I said, it goes with append rule. You can try it. This is a way to learn. To be very honest, I've not tried it before because I don't really experiment. So you can, that's a way of getting becoming a master. So you can, well, how do you do it? You can come over here, open this sales for 2017 in Excel, delete one column, save it as new. Don't save it, just save it as new, right? So you can rename it as test or whatever. Then try to append, see if it works. Maybe they've even updated Power BI now that you can append different number of columns. I wouldn't know. But at the time I was learning and I was into that, I've so far until now that I am aware of, you can only append when they have the same number of columns. Maybe they've updated, you can do all of these checks yourself. You get, so you can try it, experiment it. But for now, based on my knowledge at this point in time, no, it will not work. To tell you have different number of columns and you should fix that. Okay, so that's that. Okay, any other question? Okay, thanks. All right, you're welcome. So I wanted to show you something now. So let's assume you have a son who is a like tech enthusiast and all of that, and he just bumps on your PC and you just change things. For instance, by mistake, it deleted, or don't let me say delete, he moved this, or even he renamed it to, let me just add an underscore. So you can see that this name now, of course, is different from the one you had when you brought it in. So he renamed this file. Now, if I click on my refresh, I will get an error. What's going on? It's not giving me an error. Okay, let me show you how that error will come. It's probably not coming here, but when I close and apply, I want to close and apply everything. And I'm going back to my Power BI, everything will load again. You are getting an error. You can see. So what is the error? The error is not all these ones. All these ones are just, they just did not load because there's an issue with a query. And what is the query? It said, could not find file. What is the file? This Adventure Works, all about data, Adventure Works 2017. So it could not find that file, right? So because of, we changed the name. It will not be only changing of the, it can even be moving of file. Maybe we moved it to another folder and all of that. So what do? Do you delete that folder and start all over again? No, that's not a good way about, because imagine you've done a lot of transformation on that table in your query and you have to delete and start all over again. No. So what you're going to do is find the file, right? Which in this case, we know that this is the file, right? Let's say it's even moved to another folder, is in document, you know, that is the new location. So what you can do is this. You can come to, you can go back to your query editor, right? Just right click on this, click on edit query. Then you can go to data source settings. We also have it on the other hand. I will show you. So once I click on data source settings, it's going to show you all of the data that you have. So these are all. So what is that one that we have issues with? This particular one. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to go to change source. So once I click on change source, this is the path. Now I want to change it. So I'm just going to click on browse. Then this is the new source. I had it. And I click my OK. And I click on close. Now, if I close and apply my Power Query now, you see that everything will work perfectly. Project loading, 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 load, 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 load. Everything's loading, loading, done. So you can see now all of my tables are here. Do you get it now? So that's one thing I wanted to show you, data source settings. I think when you come under, this place, home, if you do it, let's say from home, you want to do it from home, if you come under recent source, you can click on more. Then you also have, you go back to that same option. Is this a way of doing it? No. Is it this way? Let me see. Oh, well, I showed you one way. Maybe they removed it or not, but we used to have something like that. Let me see, get data. I don't know. Recent sources. I think it should be there. I don't know why it's not there. Maybe it's not there anymore. I wouldn't know. But that's how. Oh, okay. So under transform, they moved it here. It used to be somewhere here before. So now under transform, just click on this arrow. Then you see data source settings. So you have the same thing as we had. Then you can click on change source and all of that. Okay. So that's that. Any question at this point? So maybe the file is missing or the name was changed. These are like the use case for going to data source settings. Okay. So now last week we did, any question, guys? I think we've used how many hours now? Okay, close to an hour. So last week we did conditional colon, right? I showed you how to do conditional. We used it for, I think, for the salary range and all of that. So there's something I want to show you. To be very honest, I learned this thing recently. Like, I think, was it not late last year? So I don't know if I was the one who skipped it when I was learning the whole thing, or maybe I just missed out on it. I wouldn't know. But I felt it was okay to show you because since I found it, I've been using it a lot. So what am I talking about? So if you go to your, I can delete these sales now. I can just delete these sales. We don't really need it since we have all of our sales. Yeah. Can delete it, can delete this, all of this is okay, I will delete them later. So let me just show you what I want to show you. So now if you go to our customers table now, for instance, and the example I gave us last time that we were doing delimiter here, that I was taking out something here. Do you remember? So this is what I want to show you. So that's one way you can always do it. So I found something and that is under add colon. Now what is that? Is what known as colon from examples. So how does it work? So column for examples is a very smart intelligence that, let me show you. So I don't even need to start speaking grammar. You see what it's doing. So now I know here I need John 24, right? Just John 24 as the username. Here I know I need Ugrain 10 because everything before the @ is what I need. So if I click on this colon and I go to colon from examples, I click on this. I don't just click on it like this. I want to see the options that we have. So, and I click column from examples. The first option is from all columns. So we don't want from all columns. We only want to do from selection. So I click on from selection, which is this particular column that I am highlighting on, which is this email address. Now you can see we have this new column that has been created here, which is like the new column you want to create. So I'm going to double click on this first one, and I'm going to write John 24, right? So once I write John 24 and I click on enter, the guy is smart that it looks at this pattern, John 24, and oh, okay, when did you write this John 24? Okay, he wrote it before art. Then once I click on enter, you can see that it practically did the same thing for all of the data. So, and of course, you can change this to maybe the operation it actually did was text before delimiter, but we didn't have to go by ourselves, just kind of like it was smart enough, intelligent enough to know that, okay, this is what you are trying to do. Let me see, I have a question on the chat. Just like flash fill, exactly. So just like flash fill in Excel. So sometimes it will not work for the first time. Let's assume maybe the pattern is not so clear. So you need to put in the second number, but I've never used it past the second row before. For most times, I always get what I want from the first option. But sometimes I think there was ones that I had that it didn't figure out from the first this thing. So I had to put in the second value. Then it was able to, it got smarter that, oh, this is definitely the pattern you are following. Then it gave me others. So this has been very handy since I found it, to be honest. I don't do text before delimiter and all of these things again. I just come to column from examples. I pick what I want. I go. Even up to date. Let's say I need year now. Instead of me going to year and that, I just come here. Okay, let me do it for year. So you see what I'm talking about. So let me cancel that. So if I come to year and I just come that same thing, go under add column. I don't think it's under transform. So you can only find it under add column. So when I go to column, for example, selection, you can see if I just come here and type 1966, right? And I click on enter, you can see it automatically gives me the rest. I just click on OK. That's like, it's very, very handy, right? Very, very handy. Let me see. Let me try something. Let me now say I put something like 90. I just want to see. I want to see something. I'm not sure. Now let's assume 1967. You can see it did not give me anything, right? Now let's assume now and I put 1966. Will it give me something? I hope so. I hope it's so smart. But even if it doesn't give me, no problem. I still not giving me. Okay, let me put 1966 again. He said we couldn't find transform. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to add one to the year. You understand, to see if it will give me, but it's not yet smart enough. But at least that's very difficult, that's like a difficult pattern. But for easiest of pattern is able to figure out something and just give you what you want straight up. Okay, so that's that I wanted to show you. And I think with that we are done with ETL. There are so many other things that we could perform with ETL. We have pivoting, but to be very honest, I've only used pivoting maybe just once or twice. So I don't really want to go into stuff that might, take your heart off of these things. So I want to just let us go with the simple things, right? But if we find a use case, probably during our project, I will definitely make sure to point it out. But then the learning doesn't stop here, So when you probably maybe you have a course you're following and all of that, and you find out anything that you don't understand, just write to me on Discord or chat. Just write to me, and I can, when I come to the class, I can talk about it, or even make a video on it and just drop on the group. Just a short video on it, just make it clearer. So that's how everyone is going to learn, because we cannot, trust me, we cannot cover everything that will be here. And these are, like I promised from the beginning of the class, I only teach you things that I use very often, because these are like the things you also use very often when you start your analytical journey. Not every other information that you might probably not using maybe 2 years or so. So that's that. So we have pivoting on pivoting. We also have them in Excel. Transpose, maybe you've had them before. Okay, maybe I should give you the assignment. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. So find out the difference between pivoting and transposing. I'm sure if I had asked that, okay, what is pivots? Some people might say transpose. People use them interchangeably, but they're actually different. So what is the difference between pivoting and transposing? That's your first assignment. So guys, please make sure to submit the same way. Just tag me on Twitter, tag all about data, and just tell me the difference. If you have a diagram to show, maybe if you have, you can also add it. So difference between pivoting and transposing of data. So I think with that, we've covered. Any question, guys? Any question? Any question? Any question? No question, right? Okay. So now in this case, we are done with bringing in all our tables, right? So we are done with bringing in all our tables. So now we can go over, just come here, close and apply, and we are back to our Power Query, Power BI. So yeah, the next thing after ETL process is definitely, still have my outline here, is definitely data modeling. So that is the flow. After you bring in your data, you extract, you transform, you load your data. The next thing is data modeling. Now, you might, it's not in all cases that you do data modeling. So when don't we do data modeling? That takes us to what data modeling is all about. I think I just have, I don't know how many minutes I have more, so okay, we can just do introduction to data modeling today without probably touching it. So just to introduce, so next class we just go to demonstration and all of that. So I created this some time ago in the class, so let me just use it. So what is data modeling? So data modeling, and when do we use it? So data modeling is basically representation of elements and the connections. I prefer that second part of the definition. Connection between tables. That's all. Connection between tables. So if you have two different tables, just like you saw in that Excel that I showed you in the demonstration of the Excel, we have two separate tables, right? Now we needed to what? Bring them together. So what we did there basically was data modeling, and for you to model data, you need to find a relationship, which in that case is the ID. So the ID was like what we use in connecting them together. Because if there's no relationship, of course, if there's no element that will help you connect them, of course, you cannot connect them together. So in that case, the ID was what enabled that connection. So if you go to the second slide, said, is this a data model? No. Why? Because this is actually a data model. So a data model shows a relationship. You can see the difference now, right? Yeah, now there's no relationship between this data. We just have AW product lookup, AW returns table, AW sales table, no other information. But here we have AW means adventure works, just so you know. So, but here we have the connection, right? So there's a connection between product lookup at the top here and what? Product lookup at the top here and sales data. There's also a connection between product lookup here and what? Returns data. But there's no connection between these two, right? So as you can see, so this is what a data model. Okay. So now, what is database normalization? I told you, I said, this is a slide I prepared a long time ago, like sometime last year in a class. So I knew I was going to talk about data normalization when I come to data modeling, but I think I already made mention of it. But again, I promised I was going to talk about it. So data normalization is the process of structuring a database in blah, 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 in order to reduce data redundancy and improve data integrity. I'm not so good at English, to be very honest. So all of these things you can read it over and try to check the meaning. But just as I've explained, data normalization is just a way of breaking down your data, right? To reduce redundancy, to reduce maybe carrying a lot of load, just like I showed you, right? So you have a data that contains name, you have a data that contains, okay, you can have name, or let me go to that customer, the one we demonstrated in Power Query. You have the orders, right? Now, imagine you now have information about who is making the order. That would be a very redundant data, because that name, that let's say the first order now was made by Mr. Alex, for instance. You would definitely still find Mr. Alex in that table somewhere down, repeating itself if it makes a lot of order frequently. So instead of having that name to repeat, you can just replace it with maybe like his ID. So that's basically what data normalization is. So if you look at this example that we have here, you can see now that this is like an order table, right? So this is information about the date. I don't know whether it's the date this product was made or whatever. Okay, I think this is an order. Maybe this is an order. So this is the date the order was made. This is the product that was purchased. That's product ID. This is the quantity of the product. Now this is the brand of the product. This is the product name. This is the product SKU. This is the product weight. Now you see that anywhere that we have this product ID 869, from year to year, it's still the same set of information. Do you get it now? Look at this 869 now. Say 869, you can see from year to year, the information is the same. If you look at 142 now, from year to year, the information is the same. So instead of having to, that's what known as data redundancy. So instead of having to make that kind of repetition, right? Cut out this part and link them up together. This helps your speed, improving your speed. Okay, that's the second assignment, guys. The second assignment, because we have data normalization and we have data denormalization. So what is the difference between data normalization and data denormalization? Of course, because you had D, you definitely know that they are like opposite, but I want you to read it up and understand, especially from the point of why do we need to normalize and why don't we need to normalize? So it's not like this is a perfect way of doing it. It still has some disadvantages, but depending on data, depending on what you want to achieve, they both have advantages and disadvantages. So what is data normalization and data denormalization? Please find out. So as you can see, when you have 76 here, you can see you have the same set of information here, because this ID literally represents each product. And of course, each product we have the same, if the product is 76, they have all of these same details. So in a normalized database now, for instance, you wouldn't have all of these things there. All this column will not be there because you have product ID already. Rather, you have another table that contains all of this information. And what you are going to model them together by linking them up. So we're going to see all of that. So now, when we now talk about, I think by now you should understand why we need to model our data, why we need to create relationship. I made mention of a statement earlier that maybe it's not all cases that you model your data. Yes, that's true. When you have a single database, for instance, let's say you just have one database, just one table, right, that contains everything you need, right? You don't need to model, because modeling shows relationship when you are connecting two tables. But in case you just have one table, you're not connecting with anything, right? So in that case, you don't need to do anything modeling. So that's that. So now, when we want to model, we want to connect two data together. So there are some terms that you need to be very, very familiar with. And trust me, if you can know all of these things that we are about to dig into, you have covered like 30% of SQL. You have covered like you are getting grounded. Trust me, believe me. Even when you attend interviews, these are the questions they will ask you. I can guarantee you like 80% of the questions they will ask you are related to data modeling, because they want to know this is like the bedrock of data, either data analytics, either data engineering, either data science, either whatever. This is like the bedrock, data modeling, because if you get it wrong here, every analysis, no matter how beautiful your visualizations are, that's all, it's zero. It's not making sense once you can mix things up here. So it's really important, and it's not going to stop at what I'm going to tell you here. You still need to deep dive further, learn more about it, eat it. In fact, by that we go deep now, I'm sure some people start sleeping. See, I totally understand. Even me, I slept. I woke up, slept, woke up. So I totally understand. But just face it, because it is bedrock. Believe me. If you don't believe all the things I've been saying, this one, believe it. It's like bedrock for your data journey, and you always find it in your interviews. You can't escape it. Okay, so now what are these terms? Now we've been explaining that, okay, we have two tables, right? Which, okay, let me give us a 5-minute break just to catch breath because we're about to go into boring stuff. Boring but important stuff. So 5 minutes, I'll be back, okay? Let me pause the recording. Hey, is everyone here? Hello? 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 Am I mute?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, yes, perfect. Okay. Okay, so let me start this recording. Okay, started again. All right, so can you still see my screen? Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now difference between data table and lookup table. Okay, so now based on our explanation, you understand that we have two tables, right, that we need to connect together. We have two excuse me. So we have two tables that we need to join together, right? So now there are nomenclature for these tables and so many other things, but don't get it complicated. Trust me, it's very easy stuff. So now when you are joining two tables together, right, you know that they must have an ID. Like in the case I showed you, there must be something that connects them together. That is known as a key. Okay, that is known as what? A key. So that means a key must be present in a first table and must also be present in the second table for you to be able to join them together. Do you get it? So that's the first thing. A key must be present in both. Now, what about the two tables? We have differences between we have two types of tables. Now, I'm going to be using the case that you are already aware of, which is in the case of sales, right? Now, let's assume in a store, we have two tables, sales table and we have customer table, just like we have it earlier. Now, in the sales table, let me see if I can, okay, just look at this demonstration, the one we have here on the screen. Let me use the ones we have here on the screen. Now, if you look at this sales table now, this table here, you can see that we have date, right? Which is the date this order was made. And we also have product ID and the quantity that was made. Now, we have another table that contains information about each product, which is just exactly like breaking down this after this table now was not normalized, right? So after they did the normalization, this is what we have. So we have a table that shows the date the order was made, the product ID, the quantity, and we also have another table that shows the product ID and the details of that product, which in this case, product one means the brand is from Washington, the product name is Washington, blah, 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 like that, and so on and so forth. The product cost and all of these things. So now, you would agree with me that in this table, you cannot have the ID repeat itself. Am I right? That means you cannot have two products with the same ID. Is it possible, guys? Guys, is it possible? Guys, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
I hear you, but I'm not sure I understand what the question is.
Okay. What I'm saying is, in this table now, right?
It's not possible.
Can you hear me? Okay, someone said it's not possible, but let me just explain for Timothy. Now, in this table now, in a typical sales table now, no, okay, let me use in a literal. Let me just. I don't want to explain too much. I want you to also reason as we are talking about so that you can get it, but it's fine. So now if you check a sales table, by sales table, I mean like an order table, a table that contains all the sales that we've made. You agree with me that in such table, which is an example is this, it's very possible for you to have different occurrences of the product ID. Is that correct, Brother Timothy? Because
it's very possible.
It's very possible, right? Because today now I can come and buy this product 869. Tomorrow another person can come and buy that same product, not necessarily me. Next tomorrow, me again can come and buy this same product. So the occurrences of product ID here, you don't expect it to be unique. Not unique. The other word is what's that other word? Oh my goodness. Not unique. Different is looking for discrete. No, is it discrete? Yeah, I think it's discrete. Yeah, like, is it discrete? Sorry, I just don't want to make a mistake of that. Let me see. Distinct, yeah, it's distinct, not discrete. Sorry, that skipped my mind. So you don't expect it to be discrete, right? So you have duplicates of this here. But in the case of this table now, in this table that we have, it's not possible for you to have a product with the same idea, because this table is just showing us information about each product. So that means once we have product one, which belongs to this, you cannot have product one here again. Do you get it? Because this is like, take it as like inventory in a store. So if you go to a store now and you're taking inventory of all the goods you have in a store, if you count, let's say a store that sells cars, that sells let me use something you can easily relate to it. Okay, let's say phone, right? And you check here, you check Samsung Galaxy, whatever. The ID of that product is maybe 17. You cannot find another product with the same name else is still in that same store, in another shelf. I don't know if that demonstration makes sense. So this is like, so this is like product. In this case, you don't expect to find duplicates. You can only find this product appear once. But yeah, we expect to have it more than once, because you cannot control. You cannot say, okay, this product we only want to sell it once and all of that.
Very true, sir.
Yeah.
Very true, sir.
So now, based on this explanation, this table is known as data table. So literally any table that contains the duplicate of your key. Do you get it now? That is known as what? Data table. But any table that contains, that's the other one now, that contains unique value, that's like a distinct value, there's no duplicate, that is known as what? A lookup table. See, you see all of these definitions that you have here, just forget it. It might just confuse you further, but you can, I mean, as far as this point is, you can read further to understand the differences, but trust me, this is like the way of getting it. So your data table is the one that contains duplicates of your key, while your lookup table is the one that contains the distinct, that you don't have them repeated. Okay, so we've talked of two terms now, which is data table and lookup table. Now, two more things I need to mention. Inside of this, your data table, those ones that repeat themselves, that are duplicates, they are known as those tables now, they are known as those keys now, they are known as foreign key. So the key that you have inside of your data table is known as foreign key. Do you get it now? While the key that you have inside of your lookup table, they are known as primary key. So those are like two things I want. So I want you to just try to read further on these terms: foreign key, primary key, lookup table, data table. Some call lookup table, they're also known as a dimension table. Maybe you find another text or article, they call them dimension table. While some they call data tables, they call them fact table. Okay, so these are like things that you should know here. So once you can know these things, it makes it very easy for you to model your data correctly. Because like we said, it is like the basis of your whole analytical analysis journey. So yeah, now we have it here. So primary key. So you see all this definition, just okay, it says the primary key is used to ensure data in the specific column is unique. Just like we said, yeah, that anyone that you have here is known as what? Your primary key. The ones that are unique, that they are not duplicates, those are primary key. And you can find them inside of your what? Your lookup table. But those ones that are what? That can be duplicates, they are known as foreign key. And you can find them inside of your what? Your data table. Okay? So that's that. That's that. Okay. Okay, let me skip this part because I think we said a lot already. So when you want to create relationship, it is very important for you. The first thing you need to do is know those tables based on all of these things that we've said. Okay, know those tables based on all of these things that we've said. Now, if I check, let us check our table one by one. That's when we're going to end the class. So now let me start with this calendar table. Of course, these two calendars are like the same thing. This was the second one we created in the last class. So let me use the second one. So now if you look at this calendar table, you see that we have date here. We are even the one that created all of these things. So literally what we have here is just date. So how can you know, is this a lookup table or a data table based on what we've said? Okay, let me tell you. How do you know? So if you check in your Power BI now at the bottom left, you will find information about what this your table entails, right? So if you check somewhere here, you will find calendar. Can you see what I'm saying there? Any table that you click on, you find this information there. So you can see here that your calendar, you have 912 rows and you have 912 distinct values.
So they are unique.
They are unique. Perfect. So what type of table is this?
Lookup table.
Lookup table. Perfect. Thank you. Now for the second one, customers. Again, you can click on, is the key that you have to click on. Because for instance, if I click on this gender now, you see that you have 18,148 rows and you have 3 distinct. If you, because of this, you said, okay, that means they are not unique. No, it is the key that you have business with. And that's why you need to identify the key as much as you need to identify. Don't forget, it's the key that determines whether it is primary or it is the key that determines whether it is data table or lookup.
Lookup table.
So the most important, the first thing that you need to do is identify the key that you need to use here. So in this case now, of course, they wrote customer key. They might not write it as customer key. In fact, nobody writes customer. No, it's not like key and all of this thing. You probably just find customer ID, something like that, or maybe another name. But when you look at it, this is where your analytical mindset comes in and look at it, and you're able to ascertain, okay, which of these columns are is my key. Okay, so in this case now, we have customer keys is written already, so no need to bother ourselves. So once I click on it, you can see that we have what 18,140 rows, and we have what 18,140 rows. What type of table is this? A lookup, right? They are not duplicates, they are unique. Do you get it now? So this is another lookup table. So if I go the same thing for my product categories, we don't have a lot of things here. So we just have 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, this is not unique. This is distinct. So this is also another lookup. If I click on subcategory, you have the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 37. Just let me click on it. You can see we have 37 rows and 37 distinct.
So see a lookup table.
This is also another lookup. Now, if I go to my product and I click on my product key, they are not ordered. So you can find tools anyhow. Just click on it. You can see that we have what 293 rows and we have 293 distinct values. Can you see? So this is also another lookup. Now, if I come to my sales, let's go to my returns. So if I come to my returns, you can see, because you probably might realize that Sorry, guys. So now, if you check this now, you realize that I've been clicking on the first one, No, that is not the pattern. Your key can be anywhere. Okay, your key can be anywhere. So now, if you check these returns now, it doesn't mean this your return date is your key. No. Okay. So I don't want. Let me come back to these returns because I want to point out something. Yeah, I'll come back to these returns. Now, if you check your sales table, you see that you have your order date, you have your stock date, you have your order number. You have your product key, you have your customer key, you have your which is similar to that. Now, let me still come back here again. I'm coming to sales and returns. Now, let me go to my territory. For my territory, you have your territory key, which is also a lookup table because they are distinct. Now, going back to my sales, for instance, my sales table, you see that we have so many keys. We have product key, we have customer key, we have territory key. So which of them is now my main key? Can you see it now? We have a lot of them. So which of them is my main key? And what type of table is it? Is it data table or lookup? Please mute yourself. So should I give you this as an assignment or you're going to tell me now? An assignment or you will tell me now?
This is a data table.
A data table. Why is it a data table?
Most of the keys, for instance, the territory key has just 8 distinct value out of 2,630 rows. So there are a lot of duplicates. And I think that same goes for even the customer key and the product key. So there are repetitions. So it's a data table, not a lookup.
So what is your key there? What is the key? I agree that there are repetitions for sure, based on
it should be
all
the
of
product key. It should be the product key.
Okay. Another person with a different opinion. Any other person? Any other person? Nobody. Just have only one person saying something. Okay. So in this type, they are all foreign keys. Okay, just as you have said, they are repeating, but this table does not have a primary key because it is a data table. So all of them are actually foreign keys because at the end of the day, you will need to connect this sales table with, for instance, customers table using the customer key. You will need to connect this sales table with product table using the product key. You also need to connect this sales table with the territories table using the territory key. So all of them here, they are all foreign keys. So that takes me to what I wanted to tell you, that a table can contain more than one foreign key, but it will only contain one primary key. It's like a lot of information, right? Don't worry, I would do a brush up again next week for sure. I just wanted us to have a taste of this so you can see that it doesn't just stop where you still need to like understand, you know, some of these things and how you match them together. And that's why I mentioned it. So I think I need to give you just one more assignment. So your assignment will be that each of these tables, I think I already told you some of them, but just a way of making you go over them again. So in each of those tables, identify the type of table that we have. Is it data table or lookup, right? Then what is the key in that table? So if a table has more than one key, tell me which of them is the primary key, which of them is the foreign key, you know, for all of these tables. So you can probably type it in Word, send a screenshot, or you can even, don't write, please, just type it in Word and try to make all of these things visible for everyone to see. So each of those tables, what is the key, right? So what is the key? What type of table are they? Is it data table or lookup table? Then the type of key that they contain. Is it primary? Is it secondary? I said secondary. Is it primary? Is it foreign? And yeah, I think that will be the third assignment to the two that I already gave you. So next week, we'll have a quick walkthrough of these tables again from the modeling point of view. Then we'll try to model all of this data together. Then we are going to see the result before we go over to our visualization. Okay. And there might be another. Last week, I actually promised an assignment during the week. I did not have the time to post it, but this week, I will do my best to send an assignment that will cover what we've done so far. And I expect you to please submit probably before Friday next week. So if you have any question now, please let me know, then we'll round up. Any question, guys? Any question? No question? Any question? Any question? Okay. Okay, I think no question, no question. Can I get access to the data? Of course, yeah. This is my first time. Oh, perfect. So if this is your first time, I think you can check on Discord. You have the recording for the first class, I think, and the data. I would also try to share them again, the recording, the data, and please try to practice along, then try to meet us for next week. So yeah, I will do that on Discord. I believe everyone is on Discord, right? Everyone is on Discord, right? Especially those that are just joining. You're on Discord, right? Yes, perfect. Okay. So I will send it on Discord, and then if you have any question, just ask me on Discord, either DM or just ask on the group. I prefer the group one so everyone can benefit from your question. Okay. All right. With that, I think we are done for today. So guys, thank you so much for attending, and see you next week. Okay. Bye for now.